Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory is due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who all in this true room and who rule well. Peace and salutations to the 144,000, the rest of the elect. Unto you I say shalom. Coming to you back with another lesson through the Spirit. Now I'm entitled this one, Envy Not the Wicked. Going into how we're not supposed to covet and look at these people in the world that so-called made it, from these celebrities, these Edomites, these so-called white people, and all these people that have these worldly accolades, these worldly riches. And really the reason why that billionaire, millionaire agenda gets pushed out so hard throughout the world, especially here in America, because that's how Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, gets our people, the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, to buy into the system, to buy into the American dream, that if you work hard, you can make it too. And our people look at that and like, oh, I want to be just like that. I want to be like Bill Gates. I want to be like Elon Musk. I want to be like all these different billionaires that so-called started from the bottom, and now look at them, they're millionaires and have all these billions of dollars in fame. And really that's all an illusion, because all of those people, those billionaires, the Jay-Z's, the Kanye West, the Diddy's, the Elon Musk, and all these different tech CEOs, ultimately they were given all that money because really it's crumbs compared to what these elite bank families have. The Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, they have control of resources, which ultimately that's the true wealth, being sovereign from your enemies, which that's what Esau Edom has. But yet here you have Jake selling their souls, selling the hell out for crumbs. And very soon Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is about to make all those worldly riches disappear in the blink of an eye, when the so-called white man, Esau Edom, he collapses this system. He collapses the dollar. He makes all these people's bank accounts go from whatever amount they had, billions, millions, hundreds of thousands of dollars, to ultimately zero. They're probably not even going to be able to access their bank account at all. And when that day comes, these people are going to bug the hell out. But that's the end of all these people. And Esau Edom, he's going to offer them a solution. He's going to offer them a way back to so-called get their wealth back, a portion of it at least. But they're going to have to take that micro C-HIP, that MOTB. And majority of our people, they're going to take it because they want those comforts and so-called riches that they had in this world. This is Psalm 73 and verse 1. Says the Psalm of Asaph, truly the Most High is good to Israel, even to such as are of a clean heart. Going into who Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is going to give the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, ultimately the elect. Because even before the hopeful elect came into this truth, we always looked at all these people in the world winning. We're like, oh shit, they're winning. What did they have to do? But as we grew in this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, as we grew in the faith, we understood, damn, they had to do wickedness behind closed doors. They had to sell the hell out. So ultimately, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is not going to open up the minds of these 2/3 wicked jakes, to get this truth. Verse 2, but as for me, my feet were almost gone. My steps had well nigh slipped. Verse 3, for I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. Yeah, and before we came into this truth, we looked at these Edomites, these so-called white people, these different celebrity Jakes, balling, chilling, fame, clout, all of that, women, houses, jewelry, and like, damn, what did they do? They must have worked hard, worked their way up to the top, but ultimately, no, they're pushing an agenda, really, in this to stray our people away from their power, from Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. So really, that's why they get paid all these millions and billions of dollars to lead our people astray, to distract them from what's really going on around the world. Verse 4, for there are no bands in their death, but their strength is firm. And that's what our people don't get. They try to get like the so-called white man, but what they don't understand, majority of our people, they don't understand that we're under the curses. It don't matter how hard you try to get equal like the so-called white man. Esau, Edom, he got blessed by Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, by through Isaac. So really, right now he's in his blessing, but his kingdom's crumbling. But that it don't matter how hard Jake tries to get equal with Esau, Edom, it's not gonna happen. And really, we're not equal to Esau, Edom. We're above them, but right now we're under the curses. We're under captivity under Esau, Edom, ultimately because we sin against Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. So that's why Jake is constantly catching hell, infirmities, sicknesses, living paycheck to paycheck, because we're under the curses. But you see these Edomites, these so-called white people, even some of our people, these celebrities that sold out. They get to live longer lives as well, but what did they have to do? They sold out. They sold out to Esau, Edom, and then the wicked elite banking families. They get to live over 120 years. They get all these heart transplants because they're in their blessing. Verse 5, they are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men. So we see these Edomites winning, chilling, in the suburbs, gated communities, grocery stores with the, I don't want to say organic, but, the best of the worst in a sense. While over here in Jake's neighborhood, food deserts, McDonald's, Popeyes in every corner, Moab, fast food, Chinese food. Not a gym in sight. There really ain't no gyms in the hood. You got to go out there to the suburbs, letting you know that it's all by design, because Yahweh Bashim Yahushai allowed this devil to rule over us. That's why Jake is in the condition we're in, because we sinned against Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, and he allowed the basis of all men to rule over us. And now we see, how bad we messed up, seeing this devil, win, because really, now you have these Edomites crying out because the curses are being turned upon him, but he's still in his blessing. They don't have to worry about being racially profiled and getting called all these bywords and proverbs, because Yahweh Bashim Yahushai blessed them for a temporal time, which is right now. But that time is just about up. Verse 6, therefore pride compassed them about as a chain. Violence covered them as a garment. Going into these Edomites. Now you got Jake doing wickedness so they could be equal like the so-called white man. But what they don't understand, the end of these Edomites, they don't understand what these so-called white people have in store for them. Ultimately, hardcore captivity, slavery, and then being done away with off the face of the planet Earth, extinction. That's what these Edomites have to look forward to. Let me get verse 7. It says, their eyes stand out with fatness, they have more than the heart could wish. Going into that Habakkuk chapter 2, he goes around the nations, He can never have enough. He has death. He has the grave. Because this damn Edomite can never have enough. He has that covetous, unsatiable spirit. And since this devil is ruling, our people follow after that vibration, that covetous spirit, coveting after what your neighbor has, adultery, and all these different abominations that our people are doing because they look at the so-called white man winning and they want to be like that. They look at the flashiness, they look at the fame, the clout, and Edom wants to be like that. Our people, Jake, wants to be like Esau, Edom. Verse 8, they are corrupt and speak wickedly concerning oppression. They speak loftily, and you have these Edomites telling our people to forget about slavery. If y'all work hard, y'all will be equal like us. But that's not the case. Here, these damn devils had a 300 to 400 year head start, having our people under slavery captivity, making us do all this labor for free. Here you had a free labor for damn near 400 years, and this devil was just profiting. How in the hell are we supposed to fight, with that? When this devil had a 400-year head start, having our people in slavery, making us work, build up his kingdom for free. Verse 9, they set their mouth against the heavens, and their tongue walketh through the earth. Talking shit, calling us, Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, while they call themselves the true people of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, calling themselves white, calling us all these different names, blacks, browns. Verse 12, behold, these are the ungodly who prosper in the world, they increase in riches. And really the only way that you could really thrive in this society, thrive in this world, is by doing wickedness. Especially these celebrities, these professional sports players, these actors, these politicians. They got to do all this wickedness to, so-called make it in this world, to get a bag, to get millions. I'm going to jump down to verse 17. Until I went into the sanctuary of the Most High, then understood I their end. So we know through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, because we've been given the understanding of what the end of these wicked ass 2/3 Jakes, these wicked ass Edomites, and all these heathen nations is. Ultimately the wicked of our people, they're gonna have to suffer that second death. They're gonna have to get put to death and be brought back through the loins of the elect, and ultimately have that everlasting shame and have their heads down for a long period of time, because they're gonna remember, they chose to sell out. They chose to go after the broad gate, the broad way, instead of going through that straight and narrow path. Then along with these heathen nations, starting with these Edomites, these so-called white people, their end is hardcore 1,000 hardcore years slavery. And then these Edomites, they're going to be burned up there, like it says in Obadiah chapter 1 and 18. These Edomites, they're going to be put off the face of the earth to never be seen ever again. They're going to become extinct, because there's not going to be any need for Edomite. And then these rest of these heathen nations, they will be allowed to go back to their lands, be subjects under the nation of Israel and pay tribute. But this is what the end of these Edomites is. But our people don't understand that. That's why they want to continue to chase after, the American dream, chase after these worldly riches. So our people ultimately, they're just going to have to learn the hard way of what happens when you envy the wicked, when you have that covetous spirit and choose to do wickedness to get all these worldly riches. But that's pretty much the point. Praise this is edifying to the elect. I want to give all praises, honor, glory that's due to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushua, Ba'Shem Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who all learned this truth from Yehovah well. Peace and salutations to the 144,000.